Okay, it's 4 o'clock on Thursday, December 8th, 2016. We have a quorum, so I'll call the New Ulm Public Library Board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Everyone has a copy of it, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Also move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion or additions? Chris, anything from you? Are we good? Okay, so since there's no discussion, then all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your motion carried. Now the approval of the minutes from the November 10th, 2016 Library Board meeting. We have that, everyone should have received the packet with the minutes included. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November 10th, 2016 Library Board meeting. Any additions, corrections that anybody has noticed?
Would we need to make any kind of a notation to those minutes? Because in the last area of those minutes, it talks about that there's going to be no meeting today.
Right, yeah, I think we can probably mention something on that we can, that the indication of the December meeting, it was decided there will be no December meeting. We can either have that stricken from the record, or we can just have it modified to say unless the need arises for one, and the need has arisen for one, so we're here. So if we want to, Mary, if you would make that change. Okay, so we have a motion and a second with the fact that we're going to change the December meeting notification. Any other corrections or additions? All right, hearing none, then all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. So the reason for the meeting, the main reason for the meeting, is the city compensation and classification study. So I guess we have Finance Director Nicole Jorgensen up to give us an update on that.
As you may have been aware or are not aware, that the city had a classification and compensation study done, just to kind of review all the wages. All the wages are compared to surrounding and similar cities, and they set the new wages based on job duties and everything. So what the council decided to do once they received the report from that study was to fully implement the changes. So there are some large changes that impact different positions, and everyone's a little bit up and down and here and there. The ultimate effect to what the library had budgeted for 2017's wages is a $42,000 increase is what's going to happen to that budget for 2017. Because the city decided to implement it completely, we have decided to just use fund balance to cover that rather than adding to the tax base or doing anything different that way. I know Chris had expressed some concerns to me because in doing the budget, she had talked about how you were kind of depending on some surpluses to cover some capital projects. What will happen is the city's general fund will end up, I don't know, eating is the right word, that entire increase from the compensation study. So what will happen is the library will actually get an increase in their property tax portion that will cover that whole increase for the library for 2017. And then the city's general fund would get less of the property taxes, so that increase will fall to the city's bottom line and not the library's. So ultimately it has absolutely no impact whatsoever on the library's 2017 budget. You will obviously have some higher wages to budget for in 2018, but you'll know that going into that year as you start that budget process. So does anybody have any other questions about that, or something I should explain differently, or?
You did mention that there's no impact to our 2016.
Right, yeah, because the wages actually don't go into effect until January 3rd.
Okay.
So there's no increases, nothing's changing for 2016 at all.
Okay.
You
And
should still see a good, I think you guys will probably see at least a $20,000 surplus in your overall budget.
So that the money that I talked about last month would be taken up by these capital projects it will work that way. We won't be dipping into fund balance as much as you had approved with those capital projects. As I mentioned last month, we still anticipate some some part of fund balance being used to cover those capital projects, because our surplus or extra in our operating budget for 2016 will not make up the difference in the amount of those capital projects.
Nicole, January 3rd is a Tuesday? So
Yeah.
is it going into effect in the middle of a pay period?
Well, yeah, well, it actually goes into effect January 1,
Okay.
but we're closed the 3rd, and not very many people work on Sunday, so I guess most of us have considered it to be the 3rd, but it will be January 1 effective date.
And how is that $42,000 increase in personnel costs just generally spread about over the positions within the library?
That is actually just the impact to the full-time positions. The full impact on the part-time positions is more minimal, and we haven't gotten into as much detail with what that will be. So that 42,000 is the library director, the assistant director, any of the full-time positions. It's kind of spread
I think
throughout.
there's 5 full-time positions.
Yes.
Okay.
Did I hear you right then? It'll be a little bit more than 42 then, when you put in the...
Once you put the part-timers in, if we know that before we get that final budget next week, or before we do that final allocation for property taxes, it'll be the same thing. We'll just increase your portion of the property taxes and reduce the general funds. Good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, then up next, we'll do the November 2016 financial report and summary. Chris?
That starts on page 8. We're about 92% through this year. Our budget is about 96.5% expended. I did put extra pages in your packet listing all the invoices for these capital projects. They've all been paid. So what you see on page 9 is the entirety of the projects. I broke it down into the engineering and advertising expenses for the exterior lighting project, and you and the city council had approved $8,250. Oh, we came close. And then the actual exterior lighting project installation, which was, and you'll note that one of the questions from last month was, where does that rebate go? That we received of about $450, and it was deducted. And you can see that in the line on page 10, $447.60 was deducted for the rebate. So the entire installation project was $41,297.40. And then our exterior sanitary sewer project was exactly what was bid, which was $84,120.76. The exterior lighting project engineering costs were partially paid in 2015. That's why you see $4,000, because they started that project and visited with us in the fall of 2015. So part of that was paid that year, and then the bulk of our capital projects were paid in 2016. Aside from that, we're finishing up with our contractual maintenance building projects, including the ceiling of the steps on First North Street. After our exterior lighting project, we realized that the alcove right when you walk in the main doors by the book drop was too dark. So we added a night light that's on permanently. And so that came out of the contractual maintenance building, as did some of that preliminary work for the sewer system, as did checking the interior sanitary sewer. So that's why you see that we're at 129% of our budget spent. It actually, in total dollars, is just about $2,000 over budget. And then I'll remind you that special events programming, we're about $875 over budget on that. And that's because we had that pass-through grant. So it just shows up, but we have the corresponding revenue that came in as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What is left exactly on these projects now? We've got the interior.
We have the
portion yet?
We have the interior sanitary sewer system that will continue to come up every few months. And then we have, in the exterior portion, the landscaping around the sculpture and the sign that we'll need to replace. And my goal is to work with the Wandagog Sculpture Committee because they're raising some funds for the landscaping around the sculpture. I would like to landscape the whole area and do the sign, have it all flow. Do it in a way that we can itemize these projects so we can get some funding from them and use some of our funding for the rest of it.
Do you
So
have
that
an
will be
idea what the sign will look like?
No, except my vision is art stone. The base is art stone. Our original building is art stone. My vision is some kind of design that would just fit what we already have in place, and I think art stone makes sense. But we would bid that project out and see what kind of design, see what designs come up. I would think, my hope is next year, early March, April, that if anybody wants to be on the committee to take a look at what they might, who might be bidding on that, and then bringing a recommendation to the whole library board. So those are the two big projects. We are getting a new elevator at the library. That's coming out of the general fund. And that's the elevator that goes up to the second floor, to the book group area, to the adult nonfiction. I don't have a timeline on that. I don't know that you even bid out first. Yeah. Elwood has been handling that because we're not the only building that's getting an elevator.
Just a new one, or?
I believe so, because the one we have is, it's just not, you can't get parts for it anymore.
Okay.
It's obsolete. Yeah, so, are they gonna competitively bid that then?
They will, yeah. Other than that, I'm looking at the interior, things like carpet in particular that needs to be replaced, but nothing that has to be done. If you'll take a look at our tile, it's looking wonderful. So we won't have to do anything more with that.
So for the landscaping for the, around the sculpture and stuff, do we currently have a spotlight on that, or is that included, or do we need it because of the closeness to the new, one of the new lights that we put in?
We have been planning for it, and when we did the exterior project, we put in a conduit.
Okay, good.
And so that was part of the landscape / lighting part of it. So,
Okay, so we
yes,
just gotta tap into that conduit then and
Yes.
place it, okay. Anything else for Chris concerning the budget or the financial report? All right, then we'll move on to the Brown County Library Board update. Either Marion or Chris.
Go ahead.
we met in Springfield last month. Had a very productive meeting. The Brown County Library Board meets twice a year. And so they determined that because the Brown County Board of Commissioners has not set the final budget, that they would then wait until June to decide how to allocate that additional $3,500 that they're planning to provide to the libraries. I think, I'm guessing it's going to go based on population or number of patrons served versus split evenly between the 5 libraries. That seems to be the way that the board is leaning. However, that will be a discussion that will be voted on in June. And then we will come back and take a look at how much the library has left to make up the difference in those Traverse de Sioux fees.
And I'm still on that board when that vote takes place, so I will probably vote that way because I think that's the fairest way for us to do it.
Marion will continue to represent us for another year, even though she's not on this board.
If that's okay.
Yes.
She's going.
And so that meeting is in June in Comfrey, and we'll know more and can adjust our line items to make up the difference to Traverse de Sioux in the middle of the year.
And Dennis Potter was there, our commissioner, and talked about it and, was very positive about it. But he can't control everything either because they've had a lot of other requests.
Did you say specifically when you met what your idea was for the increase in funds?
How we would use it?
Yes.
Yes, because it would all go to Traverse de Sioux. Everybody's would go to Traverse de Sioux, and we would all still have to make up a little bit because all of our fees increased, and in total, it was more than the $3,500.
All right, anything else for the Brown County Library Board? All right, now we'll move on to the introduction of Youth Services Librarian Jan Caveney.
Hello. I've met many of you. Some of you are new faces to me. I've had a great week. Chris had me scheduled in hour by hour with all of the minds and smart people over there, and they're teaching me what to click and how to find things. It's been wonderful. I'm really excited. And already I'm seeing people that I used to work at the school, and I'm seeing children and parents from my life there coming into the library, and it's really fun to see them. And I don't know what else you want me to share.
What's your background, Jan?
Well, I'm old, so it's long. Mainly, I've been an elementary teacher for most of my life, and I taught kindergarten for a long time, and my husband and I raised our family in St. Cloud, and while I was there, I taught children's literature at the college for 9 years as an adjunct, and I've also been a professional storyteller for a long time. So those things that I love are parts of this job. I'm realizing only parts because there's a lot more to it. But I come with a love of children and books and stories, and I'm really excited to bring what I have to New Ulm and learn a lot from everyone here. So, is that enough? Any questions?
Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for being on this board. And it's really exciting. I think we've got a great library.
She already has the Narin booked for February.
Yeah. Arbor Day's down. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to the librarian's report, the library department activities report and statistics. Chris?
Starts on page 19. We received our Wi-Fi hotspots. I'm really excited about them. Realizing there's a lot of setup with them as far as writing instructions, not only for the staff, but to get ready to check out to the public. So I'm hopeful within a week we'll be able to make those available. There are 2 hotspots that will be first come, first serve, no holds on them, check out for a week, no renewals for 24 hours. They'll be checked out to adults, ages 18 and older. They will sign the policy or the use agreement that you approved this last year. Checked in, we do have the ability to suspend service if they're not returned. So everything is falling into place. I'm very pleased and looking forward to checking those out. Mary attended the Traverse de Sioux CERC Users Group Committee meeting. They meet about twice a year, talking on the back end automation stuff, going over some of the service center procedures as well. One of our library aides, Amy Eveslog, planned and just put together a great Pokemon party. She did this in September, and she made it bigger and better than ever. It was fantastic. We had 39 people participating the first day, but she had a week games and a scavenger hunt and contests and crafts, and it brought Pokemon Go right into the library, and it was a lot of fun. The Friends had their annual book sale, which I mentioned last month. They also had a Barnes & Noble book fair at the end of November. I don't have any figures yet on how much was raised at that point, but a huge thank you to the Friends for being the agent to do that. Because of their 501c, we're able to have a book fair like that. The board agreed to donate $500 for World War I speaker series that Mary is working on with the Brown County Historical Society. Most of the library staff attended cybersecurity training and mental health session scheduled by Human Resources Department, and then some of us went to an Eating Healthy over the holidays workshop the other day. Our walking challenge ended. I don't know if anybody saw the Mankato Free Press article on Dwayne Wendler from our Materials Distribution Center. He averaged over 27,000 steps a day for 12 weeks. And he did that 2 times, 2 sets of 12 weeks. And he was featured in the Mankato Free Press. It's just fantastic. But many of us in the library participated, and it was a lot of fun just to talk and challenge each other. Let's see. I went with Lisa and Sue Ullery to a day-long training for Electronic Library for Minnesota at MSU Mankato. That was provided by Traverse DeSue. And TDS's new director, Ann Hokinson, will be starting after the first of the year, coming from Austin. There was a really nice article in the Mankato paper about that as well, I believe, Holly.
Is this actually gonna hold this night?
We're hopeful. She has almost 15 years of experience in Minnesota libraries, and is well versed. Has been talking with the interim director a lot about where TDS stands and what its challenges are and what its strengths are, because I think we have a lot of strengths as well.
Is this an upgrade for her?
It is. It is a career move
Okay.
for her. Yeah. I'm working on a new project with this New Ulm art collection, and that is to work with the fire chief on all of the objects and photographs that they have in their collection. It's amazing. They have stuff from the 1800s. And so I'm going to work with him to write a grant to have someone come in and assess the collection. It has some very specific needs that are beyond my expertise. So he and I will be working on a request for proposals to get someone in and then write a grant to be able to pay for that. So that'll be coming up in 2017. Mary provided some really helpful circulation and patron report training to the supervisors. This is that back end stuff. It helps with the annual report. It helps us drill down in some of that minutia that we really need to know with collection development and knowing who our patrons are. And then that Wandagog sculpture unveiling on the 25th was wonderful. Thank you for attending. I couldn't have asked for a better day, for a better event. It was really fantastic. And I see people slowing down and pointing at her as they drive by. So I think it's a fantastic addition to the library. And thank you for your support of that.
Definitely. It is. I saw an older lady and her daughter there the other night, just going up really close and looking at it. So it's a good addition.
And as far as statistics, I don't think there's anything unusual. Pretty much status quo with everything. We do have an Overdrive ebook challenge. Throughout the region, if we reach a certain threshold, we can get $1,000 to purchase more ebooks.
Not bad.
So
$1,000.
it's quite a high threshold, but if people just get in there and start using them, and we'd be happy to show them how to use Overdrive on their digital devices. Are there any questions?
All right, no other questions, and we'll go on to see the library conference report.
That is Lisa's report I said would be in this month. She went to the Fargo conference, and it was her first library conference, and she very much enjoyed it.
Okay, so that's a printed report that's in.
That's
in
her,
here?
yeah,
Okay.
printed report.
And then we got the transcript of the interview with Betty Ruger, which is also a printed.
It is.
Report.
That went out to the whole state, which Betty says she likes to fly under the radar, but it's nice to get some recognition for her efforts, because she is well known throughout the region for her collection development skills, and it's kudos to her because she does a really nice job.
All right, and then Mary Braun will give us an update on programming.
Hello. Chris forgot to mention that tomorrow morning, December 9th, from 8:30 to 9:30, library staff, which includes Chris, will present magazines and newspapers at your fingertips. This hands-on presentation will focus on browsing the hundreds of magazines and newspapers available through Electronic Library of Minnesota, or ELM. Seats are still available, so call 507-359-8331 to register and have time with Chris. She's also available at other times for other things. Anyway, this Saturday, December 10th at 10:30 a.m., Ruth Klossner will share stories and pictures from the book, The History of Bernadotte Township. She will have copies of the book available for purchase. We're going to hold this event up on the second floor in the Fred W. Johnson Founders Room. You know, some comfy chairs, comfy place, talk about history. On Tuesday, December 13th at 6 p.m., the New Ulm Film Society will show the fourth film in the New Hollywood series. The film is Harold and Maude, starring Ruth Gordon and Bud Cort. The New Ulm Film Society meets the second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m., and thank you to the Optimist Club of New Ulm for funding the film screening license. On Wednesday, December 14th from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m., library staff, a.k.a. Chris, will present Introduction to Ancestry Library Edition. This hands-on session is for people new to the Ancestry Library Edition genealogy database. Seats are still available. Again, the number to call, 507-359-8331, as registration is required. Also on Wednesday, December 14th at 6 p.m. is Bedtime Story Time. This is a partnership the library has with ECFE, which is Early Childhood Family Education. And it's a story time for parents and their preschoolers. Each session includes stories and simple activities. Thanks to a generous donation, each child will receive a free book to take home. This is the last bedtime story time until its return in February. And when that
Well,
comes...
how many people usually end up attending them?
We usually get, I would say, between 20 and 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very well attended. And they are that preschooler age. Yeah, so some of them do come to the desk and also check out books. Not everybody, but coming and attending and participating is equally valuable.
So does that include the parents, or is that just the kids that 20 to 25?
That includes everybody.
Okay.
But it's probably about, that number's probably, about half and half. So 20, it's, because I do see a lot of times that moms and dads come with their kids. So we probably have, somewhere between, 10 to 15 kids, and then about 10 parents to go along with that. If I'm remembering the numbers correctly, that's about the ratio. Yeah. On Saturday, December 17th from 10 to 11:30 a.m., the Silent Book Group will meet. People are welcome to read whatever they want during the strictly enforced quiet reading time. The group will discuss what they are reading at a break at 11:15. Treats will be provided. Also on that day, we're going to have Family Movie Saturday. That's December 17th. That starts at 10 a.m. December's film is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and that runs for about 26 minutes. Added bonus, immediately after the film, the Grinch himself will make an appearance and pose for photos until about 12 p.m. If you've been to the library in the children's area, you will see that the Grinch made a poster for us to advertise that he's going to be there. So he's pretty excited about it in his Grinchy way. Family Movie Saturday is held the third Saturday of the month in the children's room. And again, thank you to the Optimist Club of New Ulm for funding the film screening license for that as well. The Minnesota Valley Civil War Roundtable will meet on Tuesday, December 20th at 6:30 p.m. The topic for the evening is Stonewall Jackson, presented by Chris Wiley.
It's a busy month.
I was just saying, she's got a big speaking month here. The Minnesota Valley Civil War Roundtable meets the third Tuesday of the month, September through May. Ian and Dick Kimmel will perform noon tunes on Thursday, December 22nd. The duo performs classic bluegrass and old-time songs, contemporary folk songs, folk rock, and original songs. This event will also be held in the Fred W. Johnson Founders Room, which is on the second floor of the library. As always, all programs are free and open to the public. An entire list of programs can be found on the library's website at www.newulmlibrary.org. Are there any questions? Yes.
The stargazing, did
Yes.
that ever take place?
We had the program, but we weren't able to actually see the stars. But 45 people attended, and a good group of adults, kids. He had a really good inside presentation, explaining what is a star, what is a constellation. Fun fact, Big Dipper and Little Dipper, not constellations. They are part of constellations, but they are not constellations themselves. I didn't know that. He did bring his telescopes, and with where we were at Harmon Park. We were using the warming shelter. He pointed his large telescope to Herman the German for people to look at and get an idea of just how powerful those telescopes are. As far as I can tell, people seem to enjoy themselves, even though, we disappointingly could not see the stars themselves. He also talked about some websites and apps for your phone that you can use, that you can, have the app and you point your phone at the sky and it will tell you what it is that you're seeing. And he also explained the old school method, which is reading a star map, star chart, the method in which to do that. So I think people got a lot of good information from it, and they seem to enjoy themselves. Just unfortunately, we had to do more inside time than outside time.
So do you think there'll be a repeat performance when, the stars are out, they'll be visible, or?
There's definitely an interest. When that would be, I'm not sure about that, but there, definitely, this was a Travis Dessous legacy program, so of course we had surveys there, and people, they were all thumbs up about everything. They loved the whole thing, and they definitely said more astronomy. So when, what, if, I don't know, but it's on our radar.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And then lastly, under the librarian's report, we'll do the youth services aid update. Chris?
HR Director Sean Boomgarden and I spoke with the candidate. I don't have any announcement to make at this point, but an announcement will be forthcoming.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay. No action items this month, so that's good. Any other business? All right, well then, wish everyone happy holidays, and
Thank you.
for the fact of not being politically correct, Merry Christmas. And then we'll see you again next month and after the new year.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Vince.
everyone.
Thank you. And no, I won't.